Department of Home Affairs was accused of chasing away tourists out of the country and in the process weakening and even risking the collapse of the tourism industry. One specific group of tourists mentioned in this regard are called swallows, in inverted commas. These are people who move between northern and southern hemisphere in search of sunny days, and they are regarded as very important to the tourism industry. I wish to state categorically that the Department of Home Affairs will gain nothing by destroying the tourism industry, which is regarded as one of the pillars of the economy, not only in South Africa, but in many other countries. The Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Tourism always work in partnership on issues of tourism because both departments are important in this regard. This particular issue was no exception, and it's for these reasons that with these accusations intensifying, I conducted our tourism minister, Ms. Patricia de Lille, and we discussed the matter. After this consultation, I did try to clarify this matter in the debate of State of the Nation address on the 14th of February 2024. In my input, I did concede that this was a very unfortunate circular which should not have been issued because matters it was trying to clarify could have easily been addressed in the normal course of operations between the Border Management Authority and the department. I further clarified this matter on the occasion of the responses to oral questions by the Justice, Crime and Prevention Cluster, JCPS Cluster, during plenary in Parliament on the 28th of February 2024. Judging by the reactions, it appears that my explanation in Parliament was not deemed to be enough. We arrived at the conclusion that if indeed the circular had the effect of chasing tourists out of the country, we need to find a way to resolve that. Hence, we needed to check at the borders if there was a significant spike of people who had visited South Africa as tourists and are leaving. If there was such a spike, we wanted to act in mitigation. In this regard, we reasoned that if tourists are in trouble, their first port of call will be the tourism industry operators, as well as the Ministry of Tourism. If the industry feels threatened, they will approach the tourism ministry. It is with that in mind that we approached Minister de Lille once more to find out how many people approached her as a consequence of actions emanating from this circular. Minister de Lille informed us that only one case was referred to her department, and she immediately contacted the Department of Home Affairs, and the matter was resolved to the satisfaction of the individual concerned. We also scouted our ports of entry, especially the airports, to see if such individuals were encountered. It was the Cape Town International Airport where 5 people are said to have encountered problems because they were declared undesirable due to their overstay in the country. We have instructed officials to take steps so that this undesirable status could be lifted without any waste of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is important for me to outline this whole concept of declaring people undesirable. The word undesirable is perhaps by itself very unfortunate because it sounds scary, but it is the term used. It was the term used when the Immigration Act of 2002 was enacted in Parliament, and it appears in the Immigration Act number 13 of 2002. In all the ports of entry, in and out of South Africa, we have got an electronic movement control system, which is called MCS. When people enter the country, the MCS electronically records the date and time of entry. As you would know, your passport and visas indicate the number of days you have been allocated to be in South Africa. If you exceed your allocated days, even by just 1 day, the MCS, being an automated system at the borders, will pick it up, regard it as an overstay, as I said, regardless of the number of days, and automatically declare you undesirable. Fortunately, lawmakers in this country also realized that there could be a myriad of reasons that may cause a person to exceed the allocated days. Hence, in the Act, the legislature empowers the minister to review and set aside an undesirable status on application by the affected individual if cogent reasons are provided. I need to explain something also important again. When you apply for the extension of your visa before it expires, you are given a receipt which has a reference number with which you can trace your application. In case your visa expires before the department has responded to your application, that receipt will act as an extension of your visa until such time that you get the response, positive or negative, from the department. I have tried my best to explain this matter on 2 occasions in Parliament, that people who are carrying receipt for having applied for a visa, before they get any response, that receipt acts as an extension until such time that there's a response. And this means that no law enforcement officer, immigration officer, or officials at the port of entry may trouble you while you are carrying this type of a receipt. As I said earlier on, when the circular was issued, it was an attempt to guide the BMA officials because they were regarded as new at the borders. Otherwise, this is in the law, has been happening for a long time, that if you have applied for your extension and you didn't get an answer, your receipt is regarded as an extension temporarily until an answer is provided, because the answer may be no, but it may as well be yes. So there was really no need to write a circular about it because it has been there. That's what I was trying to explain. Now, if there's anybody who was declared undesirable while they were carrying the receipt, they need to present themselves to the department so that their undesirable status can be removed. Given that we have identified only 1 person from the Department of Tourism and 5 at the Cape Town International Airport, we are not in a position to conclude that these were the only people who were negatively affected by the circular. So today, we are making a call to people in the industry or any other institution, of course that will include the media, which are in a position to identify such people so that we can immediately resolve the issues. Up to so far, the accusations directed at the Department of Home Affairs are full of generalities, anecdotes, and no specific cases were given to us. We are pleading today that anybody who wants to accuse Home Affairs must please be specific and say you did this to this, this and this to so, and these are the results. Be specific, because accusations without providing specific details won't help the individuals that are affected. You'll complain and accuse, but the individuals won't be helped. Except, of course, if the intention was never to help such individuals, but just to throw mud at the department. In that case, it will be clear what your intention is. But if the intention is to help and save the industry, we expect people to try and be specific, not just generalize, because it won't help. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to the second issue that brought us here to talk to you in this press conference. One of the media houses published an article on Sunday, the 10th of March 2024, about a certain Mr. Kudagwashe Mpofu from Zimbabwe. He is said to be fighting tooth and nail to stop the Department of Home Affairs from deporting him back to Zimbabwe after allegations that he fraudulently obtained his permanent residence permit in South Africa. In the story, Mr. Mpofu is waxing lyrical about how the department never responded to his court papers and court orders. In a way, Mr. Mpofu was trying to demonstrate that the department was guilty and is innocent. But interestingly, in the newspaper article, Mr. Mpofu is avoiding to deal with the question of whether there is any truth in the accusation that these papers are fraudulent or not. He's concentrating on court processes and their technicalities and the failures of the department in dealing with the courts. Nowhere does Mr. Mpofu mention that the department, as the custodian of all immigration documents, informed him and his lawyers as far back as the 23rd of June 2023 that his purported permanent resident permit is actually fraudulent. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today to confirm that according to our records, Mr. Kudagwashe Mpofu's permanent residence permit is fraudulent, was not issued by the Department of Home Affairs, and we do not know where he obtained it from. We can confirm that the permanent residence permit reference number appearing on Mr. Mpofu's document does not exist in our systems, and we can further confirm that the control number appearing on Mr. Mpofu's purported document was not issued by the department to him, but rather it was legitimately issued to somebody else. As to how Mr. Mpofu came across that control number, we do not know. It's a matter that will be investigated, as we'll say later. I think I need to repeat this so that there's no confusion. There are two numbers here that are being mentioned, and we are confirming that the permanent residence permit reference number, there is a reference number there, which appears on Mr. Mpofu's document, does not exist within the Home Affairs system. Now, the second thing, we are also confirming that a control number that is appeared on Mr. Mpofu's document does exist, but it was legitimately awarded to somebody else and not to Mr. Mpofu. And as to how he came across that there is such a number, we do not know. We could not yet establish that. But we want to emphasize that it's not possible in our system for the same control number to be used more than once, as control numbers are face value documents printed by the government printing works, GPW. Face value documents are printed on a particular specific type of paper, and they've got control numbers, and the control number may not be used twice. It's a matter of national embarrassment that Mr. Mpofu was able to obtain employment as a Chief Financial Officer, or CFO, at the Northwest Department of Economic Development, Department of Economic Development, handling public funds. After ascertaining these facts about Mr. Mbovu, I immediately phoned the acting Premier of Northwest, Mr. Nonomaloyi. And to the credit of the Northwest government, he told me that Mr. Mbovu has already been suspended by the government of Northwest on learning about these facts. However, ladies and gentlemen, there are several issues that did not sit well with me as the minister. Number one, why did Home Affairs officials who picked up this matter not open a police case immediately as soon as they come across this fraud, and also make an attempt to get this fraudulent document from Mr. Mbovu, because it's supposed to be in our name? Two, why did Home Affairs officials not respond to court papers to an extent that Mr. Mbovu is proudly mentioning the non-responsiveness for the department and also including the non-responsiveness of the minister? Three, how did Northwest Development Corporation's Human Resource Unit employ Mr. Mbovu without performing due diligence, because it is the duty of each prospective employer to perform such before they employ anybody? Before they hire anybody, employers are known, and people who are specialists in HR, they know this fact, not only for government, but for all employers, public and private. Now, it is for these reasons that we have handed over this matter to the SIU, not only to probe Mr. Mbovu, but also officials in government, both in Home Affairs and the Northwest Development Corporation, who dealt with this matter of Mr. Mbovu. And now I wish to remind the country how, after Bushiri, the so-called prophet, Pastor Bushiri, obtained this fraudulent permanent resident permit, which he used to defraud his own congregation of 102 million rand. 14 Home Affairs officials in permitting, where these visas are produced, wrote a petition to me as the minister, demanding that counter-corruption unit in the department must stop investigating what they call their errors. This alarming petition led to the establishment of now the well-known ministerial task team headed by former Director General in the Presidency, Dr. Cassius Lubisi. It was disturbing for me, ladies and gentlemen, for people working for the state to openly mention in a petition that we are committing errors and nobody should investigate them. That's how the Lubisi report was appointed. Now the question is Mr. Mbovu's case one of these so-called errors that were not supposed to have been investigated? Now, we believe the SIU will provide answers. For now, as Department of Home Affairs, we have opened a criminal case at the Pretoria Central Police Station, and we are also happy that the Northwest Development Corporation has also suspended Mr. Mbovu. We will see what the SIU bring. Now, I want to deal with the presidential proclamation handed over to SIU some days back. Because now Mr. Mbovu's issues lead me to this third issue, which I want to discuss with you today. As a result of the revelations of the Lubisi report, Home Affairs asked the President to issue a proclamation for the SIU to investigate visa issues in the Department of Home Affairs. We are happy that the President has issued such a proclamation and the SIU is going to work hand in glove with the Dr. Lubisi team and the multidisciplinary task team, which was appointed as a result of the recommendation from the original Lubisi report. I also wish to remind the country what I once said in one press conference. Unfortunately, I can't remember the date, when some people accused us of doing nothing to secure our borders. This was before the advent of the Border Management Authority and its border guards. The accusations were made when social media videos showed poor people jumping the border, some of them in order to come into South Africa, buy a loaf of bread or meal or paraffin. Now, at that time when this accusation was made that we are doing nothing, I pointed to the country that people want us to chase lizards while crocodiles abound. I described crocodiles as respectable people who enter the country legally, wearing suits or high heels and carrying briefcases full of cash to bribe officials to legalize their stay in the country. I said then that we are going to concentrate our energies and resources on the crocodiles. I never said we are going to leave the lizards alone. I said we are going to concentrate on the crocodiles because the country seems to believe that our problems lies on those border jumpers. I wish to enthusiastically tell you today that with the work of Lubisi team and multidisciplinary team and the SIU, the days of the crocodiles, like Mr. Mbofu, are numbered. From the Lubisi team, we have got reason to believe that these crocodiles are found all over the country in very high positions. And I want to report today that their days are numbered because we're not going to take this issue lying down, and the SIU is going to be very active. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I thought journalists are allowed to applaud after somebody finished presentation.
Thank you, Minister. We will now open the floor for questions from members of the media. Please identify yourself and also identify the media house from which you come. Yeah, we'll start if there's a question on the floor. Okay. Yes, sir.
Minister, good day to all the officials. My name is Motsoaledi, NCA. Firstly, in relation to the issue of inverted commas, swallows, of course, Minister, do you think that the swallows?
Swallows?
Yeah. Do you think it would have been helpful if you had responded promptly and clarified the matter as soon as the memo leaked? Number two, have you established who leaked the memo and how it was leaked? Was there an internal investigation? Number three, what has been the response? Have you seen an increase in people extending their visas in the country ever since that incident took place? And then lastly, the Supreme Court of Appeal, of course, have granted you leave to appeal in regards to the Zimbabwean extension permit matter. Do you think the fight is over? Do you think you're winning, you're on track in relation to this issue? Thank you.
Just the third one. One is really, the third one is...
Oh, the third one, what has been the response? Have you seen an increase in people extending their visas after this issue took place? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other question? Tagalani, do you have questions from WhatsApp? We don't. Okay. Yes, we can respond to.
Is it the only question?
For now, yes.
Okay. Yes, thanks, Pule. You said shouldn't there have been a prompt response when the letter was leaked? The letter, as I said, was an internal communication, but it was by no means meant to be secret. So we can't say it has leaked. Only that it has landed in the hands of people for which it was not meant, and of course they misunderstood it. We don't really regard that as a leak. That's the point we are making. And as I said, the memo was written in December, and the accusations were in January. And early in February, when I realized this thing is becoming serious, I tried to clarify it, as I said. During my debate, I had a slot during the debate of the State of the Nation address. Secondly, the question was asked again during the oral replies of the JCPS. If you understand parliamentary processes, when a question has been asked, there are follow-up questions, but they must be relevant to the original question. This was not relevant, and in terms of the law, I was not forced to answer it, but because of the nature of this, I did respond to it, emphasize again about the nature of this circular and exactly what must happen. So the second question is about who leaked it, Pule. We don't really regard this as a leak because we're not dealing with secrecy. The issue of whether there was a high response of people renewing their visas, they do that all the time. That's why I said perhaps the circular was not necessary. People renew their visas. It's in the Act. And maybe let me explain, because it's not in the statement here. When you visit South Africa on a visitor's visa, you have got 90 days. That is what is called visa-free. You have got 90 days. And we know that there are countries that fall within that category. In Europe, 44 countries come to South Africa visa-free. In Asia, 20 countries come to South Africa visa-free. On the African continent, 36 countries also come to South Africa visa-free. That includes the whole of SADC, of course, with the exception of the DRC, which in many SADC countries have not been given visa-free. But that's a story for another day. In North America, 19 countries can also come to South Africa visa-free. That includes US, Canada, and many other big countries. In South America, 11 countries can come here visa-free. And in Oceania, it's 3 countries. Now, when you say you are coming here visa-free as a visitor and a tourist, it means you are given 90 days. In terms of the Act, you can extend that if you so wish by another 90 days to make it 180 days, after which there is no provision in the Act for a further extension. There's no provision. And such people will have to automatically leave the country. There was no need for a circular to remind them that they must leave on the 29th of February, which sort of raised temperatures when leaving after your days, allocated days are over. It's standard. Some of you have been to countries like US. They go to an extent because they've got systems we don't have, or phoning you in your hotel and tell you that, no, you were supposed to have left today or yesterday, please leave. You came here on a visit and all that, you know. So that's standard. And that's why we thought maybe a circular should not be issued. But as I explained, there was a thinking that we've got new people at the borders which might not know, and it might actually frustrate people. So people extend their visas all the time, even the so-called swallows. Now, when you said your days are finished in the country, when you come from a country that is visa-free, it doesn't mean you can't come to South Africa. It means you can come, but then you are required to apply for a visa, like people who are not visa-free, which means you start paying money and wasting time, etc. The issue of visa-free is that it saves you money, and you just wake up and say, I'm going to such and such a country because it's visa-free. You may remember that we used to be visa-free in the UK. A South African could just wake up anytime and rush to the UK. That's no longer the case. We have to apply for visas because the UK complained when our passport was being defrauded. And that's why we taking that matter of defrauding our passport very seriously. So I just want to explain various mechanisms about how the issue of visas go, how people renew and all that. So there was nothing new basically, except the fact that it was thought that there are new people who might not know these things. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Pule, why am I not surprised? You guys in the media will love the ZEP, man. Hey. Even if it's not in my presentation. Yes, we've been given a chance to appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal. We cherish that very much because we wanted the courts to clarify certain things which, if not clarified, we believe will cause a lot of problems in the country and will cause a lot of unwanted precedents. So we are looking forward, and as you know, you are right when you say the problem is not over. In this matter, Pule, in this matter, we really want the Constitutional Court on all the issues to pronounce itself so that we know if we're indeed wrong and the other people were right. But before that, we'll remain in the dark and we'll navigate in the dark most of the time, and there will be trouble. So we really want these matters to be clarified in the courts once and for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for the comprehensive responses. Any further questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. This is Ola Sholana from Newsroom Africa. I just have two questions for you. You spoke about crocodiles. Do you, by any chance, know how many are there and what is going to happen to Home Affairs officials who have been working together with these crocodiles? So essentially, is there maybe a specific jail time for them? And then the second question is, should Home Affairs officials, rather the ones that have been found to be working with these crocodiles that you spoke about, should they be seen as people who have aided these crocodiles? Or rather, okay, let me just rephrase that question. Should Home Affairs officials found to have aided these crocodiles be seen to have done treason? That's the second question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
yeah, Minister, there's a follow-up. William Treaty Jones again from ENCA. Just on the ZEP matter, what are some of the things that you want the courts to clarify? What are the crux of your contestation in your application as well? And then number two, just for clarity for those who may not know, what's currently happening with the ZEP applications and processing?